Diane Brady, Ashley Still, and Abdul Razak.
So I'm Diane Brady, and the lights are great here. So our topic is open data for a better customer experience. And there's one piece of news that I think has not been discussed here at Techonomy, and that's the Spice Girls reunion tour, which I hope you all are aware of. And as I was thinking about this topic, I immediately went back to, if you want to be my lover, you got to get with my friends. So those of you who know about the Open Data Initiative, it's Microsoft, SAP, Adobe. Do I now have to date all three of you if I'm a customer? So help us out and just give us some sense as to what exactly this means or doesn't mean. I'm going to start with you, Ashley. And I should by the way, I should say what exactly they do. Ashley, Vice President, General Manager, Adobe Document Cloud, Adobe Creative Cloud Enterprise. Abdul, Head of Cloud Technology and Architecture at SAP. So, Ashley.
Well, first, I think it would be funny to see
which Spice Girl should you be, by the way?
I would be Sporty Spice, because I love sports.
What would you be?
Well, I'd opt out and be the
Victoria.
You're
Posh Spice. You're posh. She's not on the tour. All right. So this is posh. I'll be whatever,
and we could really
baby.
push to the limits of this and see if Adobe, SAP, and Microsoft could go on tour and sell even 10 tickets. But
and Satya Nadella will be Scary Spice. They decided. No, I'm just kidding. So go ahead. So tell us a little bit about what this means, the Open Data Initiative.
So as you noted, my role at Adobe is actually not, my official role is not part of Experience Cloud. And obviously this initiative is part of Experience Cloud, which is helping companies transform their front-end experiences through web content management, analytics, and a whole marketing, analytics, and ad cloud capabilities and technology. I'm actually a big consumer or customer of those capabilities in my role at Adobe, transforming both our Document Cloud business, which is Acrobat, and other services, as well as Creative Cloud. And we've gone through a huge transformation over the past 5 years, going from very much a channel distribution business to now doing many billions of revenue directly online with our end customers, as well as with the world's largest corporations. So how I see this, kind of what the data initiative is there are many challenges in digital transformation and becoming truly an experience-driven business, one of which is if all of your vendors are using different data schema, it's incredibly costly and hard to actually stitch customer data across these systems so that you can give them great experiences.
So it's a pain point issue for you.
It's a pain point, and it stops me in...
I feel like I'm good at there. I think they can hear you now. They'll put out... So I want to hear from you. What's and plus also Oracle and Salesforce announced around the same time. So is there something in the water? Everybody's saying, "Hey guys, work together."
I think
what do I get out of this?
The way we look at it is, I think Kai-Fu made a great point earlier, right? Which is now we are in the stage of implementing AI, right? And AI is primarily based on data. You apply to gain more insights and so on and so forth. So as we go through this implementation space, it behooves us to come to a common standard. Otherwise, it's mostly a garbage in, garbage out problem. So that's the attempt, and we all came together, Microsoft, Adobe, and to remove this customer pain that Ashley talked about, right? To take away the burden of stitching that together from one-offs to rather us providing this, whether it is not only from a data format perspective, but also from a regulation, security, and then things of that nature, where we stand behind that and provide this ability, thereby enabling the implementation of it, right? Which is to gain more insights, to have this experience of a consumer, whether it's, like we talked about, 30-second return in retail or a holistical travel experience in airlines and so on and so forth.
And so I'll stop with the Spice Girls motif, but if I only engage with two of you and not the third, am I now more incentivized to want to work with all three of you because the three of you are working hard to coordinate and come up with common standards? Is that part of the value proposition, or can you give me some sense as to what's in it for me as the customer?
From our perspective, I mean, certainly we would hope so, right? And the reason why is because what we're all doing is trying to enable our joint customers to move faster.
Like an
And this is-
example of how that would work in practice, maybe?
Well, so for example, I think the 30-second return is a great example. If you
Walmart
the
talked
Walmart
about.
that was earlier today. If you don't know across systems that someone bought something online and is now trying to return it in stores, then you cannot give your customer a 30-second return experience. And so if because of our three companies working together, you can do that in months versus years because you're not spending the time stitching your data together, then that's a benefit. And so all of us compete on excellent products and customer success. This is yet another reason that we can help people move faster and just build better experiences.
So Abdul, when you have customers talk to you and ask the what's in it for me, can you give me some sense as to how life is better for me on a practical level? Is there an example that comes to mind as to how things will be better, faster, nimbler, stronger, whatever, more AI, more intelligent?
Yeah, I mean,
with this?
I took the example of an airline providing a better experience to the end traveler, right? And the traveler either is going through a business or a personal trip, and to gauge that, to what is that experience? What are the trigger points? Whether it is schedule when you're traveling for business versus price when you're traveling on personal experience, and not stopping at a particular airline, but across the travel, right? So if you take today's example, all these engagement data is in some repository. All the inventory data is typically in an SAP system, and technologically it is probably running on a Microsoft stack, right? And so now by us coming together, we can provide or enable that experience to that end user on whatever they're trying to achieve. And the way we look at it is we are enabling the enterprise, in this case, the travel operator or the airline, into providing that end consumer experiences and also guaranteeing the security of it and regulations of it, right? So that's the way.
One of the things that we've talked about a lot at this conference is a lot of these things sound intuitive, they sound easy. Practically, it's difficult to implement. And so when you talk about harmonizing and breaking down silos, this is all in the Azure platform, for example. Animal Farm comes to mind. Some are more equal than others. Like, can you give me some sense internally? And I'm going to start with you from a cultural perspective. My system's better than the other two systems. How do you deal with that issue of who harmonizes to who? Is that an easy thing to do?
No, to be candid, it's not, right? And it's all about taking a perspective, right? So if you take an internal vendor perspective, you're always biased towards your own product, that it's better, why should I open it up, and so on and so forth. But for a second, if we assume this initiative is not there, the burden is now on the customers, and they'd make their choice anyway. They'd pick which one is best, right? Whether Microsoft is better than SAP versus Adobe or whatever. But by going in joint together and providing that value proposition just enables all three of us to be part of this experience. So it's a mindset shift of taking a customer view of that versus an internal view of that reduces the barrier. And the second is, of course, it's a very complex problem. Like Ben Gurion used to say, right, the Prime Minister of Israel, the impossible things the difficult things we do immediately, the impossible things take some time, right? So we take
this time next week, we'll check in and see. I want to, before we go to the audience, actually, you've got a really interesting customer base. You work with a lot of creative customers, professional services firms. Even as we talk about data, I want to go back to the 30,000-foot view as to how much does this data actually improve the customer experience? Like, can I be reduced to an algorithm? Which I can. Well, let's stop it there. But what's the role of the creative? I mean, you've got like Kai-Fu and Paul talking about now the creative, empathetic individual. Well, can you tell me in practice, since you're dealing with a lot of these customers, what's the value proposition around how does the data make their life different, their jobs different? Is there a role for the creative individual?
Well, what's really interesting is, so first, I mean, there are a lot of high order and low order problems in trying to create great experiences, even amongst the data problem. And of course, designing the experience itself is a huge issue. I think if you look at, if one of the biggest trends that I see in technology over the past 5 years is the increased importance of design. If you look
To
at
make
software,
it feel seamless.
to actually make it usable, right? So usability, people are not going to engage with AI directly. They're going to engage with a user experience that is AI powered, whether that experience is voice, whether it's, you know, visual, et cetera. And so we see the role of creative certainly being elevated. And it's an exciting time, and we feel like we're kind of at a digital renaissance, if you will, in creativity, because it's very clear that a lot of creative jobs are not going to go away. The mundane part of their job will, where they have to change all the colors and logos because someone somewhere
So that's what you've
decided.
been focused on, is reducing that.
Reducing all
the.
the mundane work and enabling them to spend more time on how do I actually design this experience so that the experience empowers what AI and software is capable of.
Okay. Do you want to add in before we have mic runners somewhere, and
Yeah,
if you have a question, raise your hand. So we can just send, and I can sort of see a bit now so do we have questions for our audience here around open data as well? Just let me know. But go ahead, you were going to weigh in on.
No, I was just going to say, yeah, we look at it very similar. We look at it as two buckets. One is an automation economy, right? SAP is typically known as the business process company, right? And so there is obviously efficiencies that you can gain from applying AI to that automation layer, which is how do you run processes quicker, faster, cheaper, right? So that's the automation part of it. But there is a second part, which is the engagement economy, right? Which is, and that's where, you know, how do you create a marketing campaign? Now you have a million marketing leads. How do you nurture them into what is the propensity and so on and so forth? And that's where the creative part comes in from our perspective, right? In taking away some of these mundane things that you would do repeatedly and elevating them into these higher order problems on, you know,
So we have a
living
question
up to
over
the
here.
imagination of the
Go
end
ahead.
user or consumer.
Hi, my name is Clayton Banks from Silicon Harlem, and it's a great panel. I just had a question on the way just following up on the moderator, the way the three companies work together. As they are building this infrastructure, is there a view towards economic growth? Like, is there a business model involved?
Are you having more like collective barbecues together? How's this happening?
So-
Go ahead.
So, I mean, to be candid, I mean, yeah, we are in the early stages. We actually have a workshop next week to determine, you know, technically what does success mean, what's the commercial model around this. I mean, obviously we see a great opportunity in enabling this experience economy, right? So again, if you sort of look at it, we are basically removing the burden from the customers in stitching this together
But you have to
and making that
coordinate and-
right and making that work.
Can I ask a quick question just to pivot off John Chambers, you know? Hey, get the book. But it's, what I co-wrote it with him, but one of the things that I'm very interested in is if I'm a startup and I'm a 3-person firm and we're talking about AI, garbage in, garbage out, I don't have a lot of data. Is this good news for me? I can come to you and say, hey, give me everything you've got, or no?
Well, so one thing that's really important is our customers are always in control of their data, right? So this
Okay.
is basically a format initiative, for lack of a better term.
But am I
And-
happier
Well,
as a
so I was
startup
going to get
because
to that. If companies are working with startups who have great AI, Adobe and all of us have frameworks where you can work on the behalf of a company with their data set. So Adobe is never going to get in the way. I mean, certainly for Creative Cloud or Document Cloud data, you need to have Adobe's permission because
That's
that's
right.
our owned data. But in terms of Experience Cloud and all of the many, you know, retailers, telco, airlines, et cetera, all of the major industries that we work with, it's their data. So if they're working with a startup, they would have absolute access to that data and ability to create AI.
So, and I'm sorry not to take more questions. Please nab our people in the hall here. But also, we have about 13 seconds left. So any parting haiku for the crowd or anything? Like, what would be your parting words in 6 seconds or less? Abdul, go.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great opportunity in the experience economy, and we are doing everything to enable that.
Great.
Yeah, I think, Adobe's just excited about how both experience and data come together to create new opportunities, both for people at work and of course, for businesses building better relationships with consumers.
Great. Thank you very much, everybody. And please, I think much more to come.